skadoosh. That's right, a big skadoosh. You know why? Because it is Commander 2019 spoiler weekend. Everybody is hyped, and I happen to be on board with this. I always pick up these Commander sets. I pick up one copy of each and just hang on to them. I like them just to look at the packaging. That's just, I'm weird. I don't know. Do you guys do that? Am I the only one? Anyway, all right. So all this weekend, spoilers are going to be coming out, and I'll be dropping them on the channel. So stay tuned. Not only that, but also there's a little bit of history involved in this video as well. It's a little more different. The Morph face down cards may spike. That's right. Any of the mechanics you're going to see on the cards here, especially on the commanders, they may spike. You got to keep an eye out on them. You really do. And a lot of these Morph face down cards are really inexpensive right now, which is pretty interesting. So we have Kadena, Slinking Sorcerer for 4. It's a Naga Wizard, which I think is pretty sweet already. The first face down creature spell you cast each turn costs 3 less to cast. Whenever a face down creature enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. It is a 3/3. Now this card is pretty good, and what's going to go with it is Kadena Silencer. It's a 2-drop. By the way, yeah, these cards first appeared back in Onslaught and was revisited in Time Spiral. So for Deuce, you get the Silencer. I just love the artwork on this, man. Look, just take a look. I'm just going to blow it up real quick. Just get a look at that. Absolute gorgeousness. I mean, I can't get too much fine detail in here, but man, that is really cool. Hats off to all the artists, man, who Wizards hires, because man, they got talent. I could not do any of that. I would draw like a little doodly thing. All right, moving forward. When Kadena Silencer is turned face up, counter all abilities your opponents control. Pretty nasty. It's got the Megamorph for Deuce. Again, you may cast this card face down as a 2/2 creature for 3. Turn it face up anytime for its Megamorph cost and put a +1/+1 counter on it. It's a Deuce 1. I like these because you really don't know what's hiding underneath that card. Your opponent doesn't know what's hiding underneath that card. And you can totally catch them off guard and just bow, just smack them in the face with whatever threat you got. It is pretty neat. And at any time, you can pay that and turn it around, Very interesting. So what cards might we see spikes in? Well, these are the 3 of the most popular ones right now. I believe most valuable ones as well, price-wise, that all have this Morph ability and whatnot. Voidmaid Prodigy, Deuce drop. Good old Onslaught. For 2, sacrifice a wizard, counter target spell. And it's Morph for 1. I think it's really interesting that you can, and there's probably, I'm sure there's decks out there already, but you can just splash out a bunch of wizard tokens and then just sacrifice your wizard tokens to counter spells. As long as you got Prodigy out. I mean, that can get pretty ugly pretty quick. And then you got Acroma, Angel of Fury. This card was recently reprinted in Masters 25. Yes. It is a big 8-drop. But remember, the price of this card can be reduced using the new commander. Acroma, Angel of Fury can't be countered. Something to feel right there alone. Flying, trample, protection from white, protection from blue. That's a lot. That is a lot right there. Hard to remove for sure. Black would probably take care of this thing, but outside of that, yikes, man. For 1, Acroma, Angel of Fury gets +1/+0 until end of turn, so you could pump this thing as well. And then the Morph cost on it. It's pretty ridiculous, but nonetheless. Then you got Hooded Hydra. This is, I think, the most expensive Morph card out there right now, I believe. Hooded Hydra enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. When it dies, put a 1/1 green snake creature token on the battlefield for each +1/+1 counter on it. Its Morph is for 5. As Hooded Hydra is turned face up, put 5 +1/+1 counters on it. Pretty nasty. Unfortunately, Acroma doesn't fit with Kadena. So good luck with that, man. But the other 2 cards are a go. Hooded Hydra and Prodigy. You can definitely run with that. Next we got Keep an Eye. Oh yeah, next we got Keep an Eye. Keep an eye out. For any of these mechanics that are going to be talked about that are on these commanders, you really got to keep an eye out on it. And the madness cost. Anything with madness in it might see those cards spike up in value. I'm just saying, it's most likely to happen. That's usually what happens with these cards, because people want to start building decks around these cards, around these canoe commanders. They want to make these decks even better. Yes, the commander sets do offer a nice variety of cards, quite a few reprints and some new cards. But there's cards they're just not including that are from the original sets and whatnot, that have the madness in it, or any of these mechanics. So for 3, we have Falcon Wrath. It's a legendary creature vampire. We all love our vampires. Haste, tap, discard a card, draw a card. That alone's pretty good. Whenever you discard a card, if it has madness, untap. So you can basically keep dumping stuff into your graveyard. And use things, to summon things from your graveyard, etc., etc. It gets pretty nuts here. But this is a cool card. And with anything madness, you're going to have to watch the price on these jump, man. I got some of those cards for you as well. Madness first appeared in Torment. It was reprinted in Time Spiral and Shadows over Innistrad, Eldritch Moon, and the list kind of goes on. There's a few others I'll show you. Anji's Ravager, that's right, for 3. Vampire Berserker. Are you Berserker? Anybody? All right. Silent Bob? No? Jay? All right. Ravager attacks each combat if able. Pretty sweet. Whenever a Ravager attacks, discard your hand. Then draw 3 cards. It does have Madness for Deuce. If you discard this card, discard it into exile. When you do, cast it for its madness cost or put it into your graveyard. Pretty fun. Madness really, it all revolves around vampires now. But there was a time where it did not revolve around vampires, believe it or not. And that time was a pretty interesting time. Back in the day, we got Big Game Hunter for 3. When Big Game Hunter comes into play, destroy target creature with power 4 or greater. It can't be regenerated. Its madness cost was 1. And then you have Arrogant Worm over here for 5. Trample. Madness for 3. It's weird to see a madness card with green. I'm just throwing it out there. I mean, obviously, Big Game Hunter would be, something you would consider running in that kind of deck, unless you're going vampire, tribal, whatever. Then Human Rebel Assassin might not fit too well. Arrogant Worm's just not going to fit in those commander colors, but it is something to note just because of the madness costs. And that's also an uncommon, just so you know. A lot of these I noticed, a lot of the madness costs, I think we have a lot of uncommons and common cards. Not so many like rares and mythics, kind of weird. And the ones that are rare or mythic, they're not that expensive. All right, nothing new about this text line, guys. Watch the market, basically. Conclave Exile, Glurad. Yeah, for 5. Legendary creature, Human Shaman. When Gerard, is it Gerard? Gired. I got red hair. Conclave Exile. When it enters the battlefield, create a 4/4 green rhino creature token with trample. That's not bad. Whenever it attacks, populate. The token enters the battlefield tapped and attacking. To populate, create a token that's a copy of a creature token you control. All these populate cards are really inexpensive right now because we haven't seen populate in some time. But we're seeing it again. Meow. Gerard's Belligerence. X and 2 red mana. Yeah, Populate first came out back in Return to Ravnica and Dragon's Maze. Very interesting. I don't think we've seen too much of it since. It deals X damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures. Whenever a creature dealt damage this way dies this turn, populate. Create a token that's a copy of a creature token you control. Harmony is no longer an option. Oh, I love it, you savage beast. All right, moving on. We have Tristani Celestia's Voice in Growing Ranks right now. A card to keep an eye on is Growing Ranks. This card is dirt cheap right now, and if these decks do take off, Growing Ranks is going to be a card you're going to want to have up in there, man. At the beginning of your upkeep, populate. That is correct. Do the colors correspond? Yes, they certainly do. We do have those colors in the mix. Also with Tristani Celestia's Voice, whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain life equal to that creature's toughness. And then for 3, tap it, populate. Put a token under the battlefield that's a copy of a creature token you control. These cards are 2 you're going to want to keep an eye on. Already Tristani Celestia's Voice is seeing Commander play and whatnot. And yeah, it's going to probably see a heck ton more now that this card has been printed. So something to keep an eye on, guys. Next, we have Seedborn Muse. This card's been printed quite a few times. It's a 5-drop. Untap all permanents you control during each other player's untap step. It's a deuce 4. Currently going for $9 to $11 depending on the set. It has appeared in Battle Bond, 10th edition, 9th edition, and in Legions. There you have it. Good reprint, needed a reprint. Then we have the good old Flashback. Savini's Reclamation. Just the name Reclamation in Standard just makes people just crumble to tears. It's a 3-drop. Flashback, first appeared in the Odyssey block. Return target permanent card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. I noticed a lot of these cards lately being printed that are returning. This one's target permanent, but just returning something from your graveyard with a specific amount of converted mana cost. CMC. Back to your graveyard, or back from your graveyard to the battlefield, or back to your hand. So this is pretty nice. We have this. You may copy this spell and may choose a new target for this copy. The Flashback thing is pretty nuts, though. For 5 Flashback, you may cast this card from your graveyard for its Flashback cost and exile it. So if you were to Flashback that, man, that's pretty nuts. Because you're going to copy the spell and choose new targets for it. I'm just saying, good card. I like it. Is an instant, though. It would be cool if it was if it's a sorcery. It would be cool if it was an instant. It's going to be seen play. I think it's like $2-3 right now, so keep an eye on it. And some cards with Flashback, Lingering Souls. I'm sure you've all seen this card. It's in one of my budget decks that costs under $10 to make in Modern. Budget tokens, that's right. Sorcery for 3. Put 2 1/1 White Spirit creature tokens with flying on the battlefield, and it's Flashback for deuce. That is pretty cool. So you're able to flood a bunch of these out. Seize the Day, 4-drop. This card recently was reprinted not too long ago, one of the master sets. It's a sorcery, untap target creature. After this phase, there is an additional combat phase, followed by an additional main phase. Flashback for 3. Oh, man. Seize the Day. Probably going to go up in price. That's legal commander for sure. All right. Lastly, we have Savini, the Chronoclasm. Sure. It's a big 5-drop legendary creature, human wizard. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to the Chronoclasm. Whenever you cast your first instant or sorcery spell from your graveyard each turn, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. I just thought one great card to go along with him would be Secrets of the Dead. It's a 3-drop enchantment. Whenever you cast a spell from your graveyard, draw a card. There you go. You want some card advantage? You got it with Secrets of the Dead and the Chronoclasm. Put them together and you have a fun time. I'm going to continue to drop spoiler videos as they continue to drop on me. So do keep a watch out on the channel. Also, I've been working on some new deck techs. I've been pretty crazy heavily in Standard lately. Dropping one deck after another all this week. I think I dropped like 4 this week alone. So do keep an eye out, guys. And I do appreciate you tuning in to Bad Boy Gaming. I am Joey Moss. If you're not subscribed, you probably want to get checked out. Something wrong with your brain. Skadoosh yourself.